Hey everyone, Livy here, back with another video, and today I am doing my January 2025 monthly musings, where I talk about all things life related for me, books I read during the month, and tarot and oracle decks that I used. So, I will apologize in advance for the lighting. I feel like it's going to be kind of dark in here, but we've been I don't know, the last few videos I've had to film, it's just been very doom and gloom right now, weather-wise, so you get what you get, and I'm so sorry in advance. I could turn my light on, but when I do, it just kind of creates a weird effect. I can't help it at night, but during the day, it is what it is. Anyways, let's get into life. So, January 2025, I think it started with a lot of promise. See, you get to hear it in my voice immediately. It started with a lot of promise, but I will admit that halfway through the month, I got really sick. Whatever the heck was going around the schools when the kids came back is basically what I got. It kind of messed up my airways a little bit, so sometimes I still hack and cough a little. Most of it's just like, again, it's mostly phlegm now that's just coming up. I don't feel anything else besides that, but it set me back a little bit. But despite all that, I did do some fun things in the month of January. If I remember to post pictures of anything, I will post them around here as I talk about them. But the first thing I really got to do in January was explore more. Specifically, I went to places I either had never been before or hadn't been in like years, literal years, that the place felt new to me. So I traveled a bit. I got to travel a bit, which was nice. And in doing that too, I discovered some places I would love to go back to. Specifically, there was this really cool coffee shop in this town. It's not town, it's a city that's kind of a little bit a ways from me. Not too far, but at least like, I don't know, 30 minutes to 45 minutes or something. Or maybe even, yeah, about 30 to 45 minutes away from me. Called Pleasanton in California, and it was really cool. They have this cool coffee shop called Inklings, which is exactly like it sounds. Like, if you know anything about the Inklings, who were a group of writers that included C.S. Lewis and J.R.R. Tolkien, it's a cafe basically inspired by that group. It was really cool aesthetically. Coffee was decent enough too. I just really liked the vibe of that town, city, and that was cool to go to. I also went to a place called Guerneville, which is in more the north. It's definitely a town. That one for sure, 100% is a town. Smaller. It was just cool to really go there because it's in the middle of a bunch of like redwoods and along the Russian River. That was also a really cool area just to go back to because I hadn't been there really since I was like, I want to say maybe 15 was the last time. I was 15 years old. So that was really, really cool to go to those places and travel. When I was in that area, by the way, me and my husband, I wouldn't say I wouldn't say we drink a lot, but in that area of Guerneville is a winery there called Corbel. You guys might have heard of it, might not have, depends on if you like to drink or not, but they are known for sparkling wines, specifically champagne or champagne adjacent. I don't know what the correct terminology there is, but impulsively, we kind of ended up doing like a wine, what's called a wine club thing with that. So I guess we are Corbel members now. It didn't take very much to be a wine member, but that's also a cool thing that happened kind of impulsively after doing a tasting, and that's actually kind of exciting in some ways. So it's just something a little different, than the average. And then other than that, yeah, I basically either spent the month sick, tried to eat well enough, did some new experiences, and yeah, we're going to move on into books because I feel like I should. It's already been 5 minutes in. By the way, I also have hot chocolate right now, so I will take a sip. But we're going to take a second and go into the books that I read for the month of January. Okay, for books, let's start with this behemoth that can't even fully fit in the fucking frame. Man, this was a crazy ass undertaking. I don't know why I started to do this, but this big edition is the Books of Ursi. As it says here, it is a complete illustrated edition of Ursula K. Le Guin's massive fantasy series. This is deep. This is old. Ursi could basically be compared, I guess, to Lord of the Rings in how much of a fantasy classic it is these days. But I don't see a lot of people talk about this often. But anyways, this massive edition, okay, massive. My camera can't even show you all of it. Okay, this massive edition has a complete series in it, plus some extras. So to explain, oh my God. See, this is what I mean. This is like so massive. Okay, this is everything in the book. I don't know how well with this lighting you guys can see. But I read up to this point. The Tales from Ursi, okay? So I basically read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, 5 of the books that are in here, I read them during the month. And, sorry, I have to say, that was batshit to do. It was batshit because there's so much. This book is massive. And to give a little preface, I have read, before doing this, I had fully read once the first book. I had read the 4th book randomly because it was in like my middle school library. And I think, but that one I'm not too sure about. I think I maybe had read the 2nd book also through the library. But I only really remembered the 1st and the 4th. So this felt vaguely familiar, but also very new to me. Okay. There's a lot of books in here. So yeah, like I said, I read 5 of them. I still need to read the last one, The Other Wind. So I will give more of an update on that, in February. But of the 5 books that I read in here, I have to say the first one was for sure my favorite. And then, I don't know, it's kind of this weird tie where I can't decide if I liked the 2nd book or the 4th book as the 2nd place. And then, I'll be honest, I straight up did not like the 3rd book as much. It just dragged on a lot. Overall, do I think this is a series that is worth people's time? Well, I do like it. I do think it's interesting. I think the 1st book definitely was doing a lot of great things that I feel like a lot of modern fantasy writers could learn a lesson from. Specifically in developing character, in developing world, in all those aspects. I think that this, the 1st book in this series did that. The other books, I felt like kind of meandered a bit, and it shows because a lot of Ursula K. Le Guin, if you didn't know, she straight up was a pantser style of writer. She kind of made shit up as she went along, and she admits to that. Like, there's a lot of forwards and stuff and afterwards in this book because it's a special edition from her, and she admits kind of these things. So, you could tell. You could tell this book, you could tell this whole series was pantsed, but the 1st book felt the most cohesive, and that's probably why it was my favorite. Again, I still need to read The Other Wind, and there's some extra appendix shit in here. I don't know, it felt like such a long journey, and to be honest, I started to get very tired through the middle of it. Maybe because the book is so big, but also because I was just more interested in reading some other books I had planned for the month, so I am going to share that next. Let me move this shit aside. Oh, overall, I would say the 1st book is definitely I would say the 1st book's a 5-star read for me. I feel like the second and the fourth, I guess, are about a 4. The third book was definitely a 3. Tales from Mercy, which is like the 5th one that I kind of read, they're all a bunch of short stories. And so that's kind of hard to gauge, but I guess I would put that somewhere in 3 or 3.5. I liked it a little more than the Farthest Shore, but yeah. Anyways, moving on. The other book, that I read in the month of January was this one. This is an old book. Been around a while. I'm just barely getting to it in my physical TBR because I suck, I guess. But anyways, this is The Kingdom of Ash and Briars. This is a book by Hannah West. And this book was kind of fascinating because it was simultaneously a retelling of specifically like Sleeping Beauty and a little bit of Cinderella, kind of mashed together, combined with a secondary world fantasy that was trying to do shit of its own. So in that premise, it sounds really interesting. But I think in the end, I ended up giving this book a 3.5 rating, okay? And by the way, I should say, I was reading this book in the middle of reading Ursi because when I'm at work and I'm like on lunch and shit, I like to read. But obviously, I was not going to lug that giant book you just saw in my work bag with me to work. That would have been insanity. So I brought this instead because, as you can see, it's a lot smaller. So I would just read this during my work times during the month of January. I ultimately gave this a 3.5 because I thought the world building that was done was interesting. I liked where it was going. The characters that were introduced were okay enough. But I think the biggest thing this book suffered from was actually not being longer. I feel like it needed to be longer to establish the things it was trying to do because a lot of stuff, especially in the beginning of this book, felt very, very rushed. I felt like this book could have been split, to be honest, into 2 books, where the beginning really focused on, developing the main character, Bristol, and the powers that she comes into because she discovers by purposely, people tried to purposely drown her in this water that they thought gives magical powers, and she actually survives and gets those magical powers, and she's basically able to change her shape and form, okay? I felt like the whole, I guess the first third of this book, okay, was just that happening. And then her being discovered by the other Elicromancers, that's what they were called, the magical people. I felt like she should have just, the author, right, should have just had like 2 books where the first part is her developing her skills. And then the second book would have been all the other shit that happens after that. There could have been a lot of interesting tension, but it just didn't happen. So that's why I gave this book a 3.5. Okay. Now, interestingly, if you guys are wondering, I mentioned a while ago that I've had a reading goal for this year. And it's basically this list here. Okay. So if I was to look at this list, how many books did I actually finish on this? I can tell you with certainty that, I'm trying to get like a pen here or something. Okay. I can tell you with certainty if I'm looking at this one, I finished The Kingdom of Ash and Briars. I need 1 more left of Ursi. But I did not get to Pachinko. Well, okay, no. The last 2 days of the month, I did actually start Pachinko. But I was not able to finish it. So I will be moving it onward to February and then going from there. It is what it is, you know. I should have known that Earthsea was going to take so long to read. But anyways, now that my books for the month, which I guess totaled, what did I read? 6 books. I read 6 books during the month of February. Now that that's out of the way, we're going to move into Tarot and Oracle because I feel like that's what most of you also just care the most about. So let's do that, right? Give me 1 second and then I will get some decks right here. Okay. Hi. To start off the month of January, I'm going to start with the 2 Oracle decks that I used during this month. And I actually just basically paired these 2 together. The first deck here in this bag, this is the Dream Song Tarot. Oh, not Tarot, sorry. This is a Dream Song Oracle. This is a US Games deck. This kind of came out more recently. I think it came out in the fall of 2024. And I paired it with, as you can see here, Seasons of the Witch in Bulk Oracle. Okay. I paired these 2 together, and I used these exclusively in the month of January because they just felt very, I don't know, they just felt very January to me. These are the backs of the Dream Song Oracle. These are the fronts. These are the backs of Imbolc. If you've never seen this one, it has this like blue gilding. They actually both have gilding, which is funny. But anyways, not important. What is important is this combo. This was a combo that I was very pleasantly surprised by, but I shouldn't have been because I felt like their vibes would have gone together. I was just amazed by how much they did go together, you know. They are both very different and interesting decks. This deck is very surreal, if you couldn't tell by the artwork. Very surreal, whereas Seasons of the Witch is just by the very beautifully illustrated art of, what's her name? It says it on here. Tiana, what does it say? Tiana Lukovic? I don't know. I hope I said that correctly. But they paired, as you can see, kind of nicely together. They gave me such nice messages, both of them, and they were very much telling me what I needed to hear, which was good. I like oracles that tell me what what I need to know. What do I need to know? What is it? I felt like Imbolc, it was interesting because Imbolc felt very compassionate in some regards, like to balance these 2 energies out. Imbolc felt a little more compassionate. Whereas Dream Song, it's not that it wasn't compassionate, but it very much wanted to nudge me towards the truth more. So they were an interesting pair. Like, I basically spent mornings before work quickly pulling a card, 1 card each from both of these, and it gave me like the message for the day. And that was really cool. So I definitely like this combo. Would do that again. I'm very glad for having Dream Song now because it was a newer one. I got Imbolc last year. Dream Song I also did kind of when it came out. I just took a little bit of time. But yeah, these oracles worked really well together. And yeah, it just made me excited. But now that I talked about oracle, let me get into tarot. Okay. The first decks I used in the month of January this year was Edmund Duloc Tarot. This is a mass market deck by Los Scarabeo. The other 2, by the way, the Oracle decks I showed are both indie decks. This is Los Scarabeo. Edmund Duloc, what can I say about this? I've had this deck for quite a few years now. These are the backs. This is a deck that I find really fascinating, but I find myself not always gravitating towards using it. And when I first got it, I was really obsessed with it, wanted to use it a lot, all that jazz. Now I find myself not as gravitated, but I still find the images really fascinating when I look at them. I think what it is for me, like, because I was really trying to think about this, I think what it is for me is because this deck is a curated art deck, right? It's based on the art of Edmund Duloc, and it was not originally made for tarot. I sometimes find myself a little confused by the imagery, but when you really look at the images, they make sense sometimes with the card. It's just kind of a deck I feel like you kind of need to have more time to sink into and to actually observe and study a little bit what the imagery is trying to show you. But I do love the size of it. I have smaller hands. Little Scarabeo decks like this are always a good size. The cardstock's fine for me. Some people don't like it as much, but I do. It's on the thinner side. So it's not so much of that. but I didn't use this too much. It was basically just one reading, and then I didn't feel called to use it again. There's some decks, as I'm going to show, that I definitely used more and wanted to use more than this one. But because I used it in the month of January, because it was on my list to use in the month of January, I wanted to show it off. So this is the Edmund Duloc Tarot. It's a good mass market one, but yeah, does require, I think, a little bit more time to sink into and the patience to want to sink into it. Okay. Another deck I used during the month of January was this little one in this little teeny baggie here. This deck, if you don't already know by looking, because I think I've featured in a couple videos now. I don't know. Anyways, this is the Tarot Mystical Moments, but as you can see, this is the borderless miniature edition. Some people find this deck really tiny. As you can see, I have small hands and it fits very nicely in my hands, so I love it. But some people, I know, had mixed opinions. But listen, I've already explained this, but I specifically got this mini because I was a cardstock hater of the original. I got to try it out at a store nearish to me. It was very high gloss, and I said, no, sir, no, do not want that. So I never got this deck, even though I always loved the artwork. Well, now, in this Borderless Mini Edition, it is not a high gloss cardstock. So it feels nice. It's, you know, smooth in the hand. It's good for me. These are the backs, which this lighting does not help. You cannot see shit. I feel like I need to fix this lighting before I move on. So give me 1 second to do that. Okay, I tried to make it brighter in here. See, I put my light. Don't know if that really helped. But anyways, you might be able to see the backs a little bit better now. But if you have the Tarot Mystical Moments or have ever seen it, this is basically the same shit. It's the same shit. It's just smaller. It fits in my hand. It's very tiny. I use this mainly, well, I did do like one regular reading with this, but I mainly use this as my travel deck for the month because it is so nice and convenient and small. I was able to throw it into my bag rather easily and just go, you know. I love this artwork. It's very surreal. I like the fact that this deck also pairs nicely with the Dream Song Oracle that I showed earlier, right? They go very well together because they're very similar in style. So this is a deck that the images are still ones I'm kind of trying to learn. So I don't feel like I got a full big grasp on it yet, but it was fun to look through. I find the images really fascinating. And just enjoy that I can now appreciate this deck because its cardstock and size are just much more easier for me to handle. Because that was the other thing with the Tarot Mystical Moments. I think it was more Oracle size. And every time I have decks that are more Oracle size, they're just really hard on my hands too. So this one is a mini, as you can see. But if you can also tell, it's a little wider. So it is reminiscent of the original. So yeah, really like this one. So I was glad to have it around, that it was a good travel deck, that it went well. For those who are curious, okay, I have small hands. As you can see, it's very easy for me to shuffle because I have smaller hands. Some people might find it too small and unwieldy, and that's true. I'm not going to tell you that this is going to be like the right deck for everybody, but if you like smaller decks and have smaller hands, you might enjoy this one. So that is the Tarot Mystical Moments, another mass market tarot deck by US Games. Okay, the next deck I have here in this bag, because the original box was so big and it was just not about that life, and it has a really chunky guidebook, so that's why I put it in here. This is, ta-da, Tarot of the Moon Garden, but specifically this is the new edition. It's the borderless edition that came with like a big guidebook and all that jazz. Has these gilding. A lot of these decks have gilding this month, I just realized, Jesus. But anyways, purple gilding, nice linen cardstock. So the other US Games decks I was showing had their like other cardstock, but this is a linen. Sorry, I was briefly interrupted. What was I saying? Oh, cardstock is US Games linen finish, not their other cardstock. It is, okay, I love it, but it is on the slippy side. So if you don't like linen finish that feels very slippy, this might not be the edition for you. But Tarot of the Moon Garden, right? That's what it's called? Pretty sure. What does it say? Yep. Oh, Tarot of. Tarot of a Moon Garden. I feel like everyone calls it Tarot of the Moon Garden. Anyways, Tarot of a Moon Garden. It, as you can see, is very slippy. If you don't like that, you might not like this deck. It is also, as you can see, on the longer, thinner side. But that is also because this edition of the deck is borderless, right? There's still another edition of this deck that does have the borders that you can still get from US Games. I think it's on different cardstock too, but I like this edition. Okay, I like the new cardstock. I like that's fantastical that it takes place at night. What was interesting was I kept feeling like I wanted to grab this deck more, but I only used it for like 2 readings during the month of January, and I think the reason why is because one of the readings I did with this deck was actually its tarot interview. And based on its interview, it was very clear that this is going to be a good deck to do readings with when it involves getting shit done, like work, like pentacles, or even maybe wand related issues. So because of that, and because I wasn't always getting shit done during the month of January, right? Sometimes I just wanted readings to do more as a check-in. I didn't really reach for this deck as much, but I feel like I definitely want to use it more. I do like it. I like the art style. I'm pretty sure you can tell by just looking at it, like the way it looks and some of the gradients and stuff on it, that it was originally illustrated with color pencil. So it creates this very interesting dynamic. And I just like it. I don't know. It is on the pippier side too, though. So if you don't really like pippy, this might not be your vibe. But Tarot of a Moon Garden was a fun deck. And I don't know. I'll see when I use it again, because I also, just like my books for this year, I also have a schedule of what decks I'm using when. So this is not on rotation for the rest of the year, except for maybe one other thing I'm doing, but I'm not going to mention too much on that yet. Just stick around for late February, early March. You'll find out what I'm talking about. But anyways, I'm going to move on to the next deck that I use during the month. Okay, next up, another deck I used during the month of January was this one. This is the Forger's Daughter Tarot. This is, I think, the first indie deck I'm showing for this month. Yeah, first indie deck of this month. But anyways, this is what the box looks like. This one also has a linen finish. These are the beautiful backs. This is like a glossy linen. So this deck can also be kind of slippy. I know that's not like everyone's thing. But I will say it has also this really amazing guidebook, very big and very full of information. I really like this one. I've talked about this. I always want to kind of use it in this time of year. I don't know what it is about it. Maybe it's the color scheme. I will say this is also the Afterlight edition, because I believe once upon a time, this deck used to have like different colored borders was the main difference. I don't know if the cardstock was different either, but this Afterlight edition is beautiful. I kind of call this like my Blue Planet National Geographic-ish deck, because it shows some interesting depictions of animals, but it also shows in a very ethereal way that I really like. Guidebook, again, like I said, is fantastic. This is an animal deck, kind of pippy in some parts, but not fully. Like, you get the sense of what this is saying. And if you know anything about ants, this deck makes sense. I will say it is an indie deck, and it is pretty expensive for an indie. It's like higher up there. I got it on, I'm pretty sure when I got it a bit on sale. Maybe, I don't remember. I might not have, but it goes on sale sometimes, so you can get it for cheaper. And I don't know, I just really enjoy it. You guys also might have seen on my channel, I use this deck to do a tarot spread in practice video. I'm still going to be doing those throughout this year, so keep an eye on that. But the Forager's Daughter does have a lot of good spreads in it too, so if you're someone who likes to collect tarot spreads, it might be worth it even for just that. But yeah, this one was just really nice. And like I said, because, oh, and also as gilding, because it's linen too, as you can see, this glossy linen is very easy to shuffle. I just noticed I really just like linen finish because, again, I have smaller hands, so the thinner a cardstock is and easier, you know, to get my hands around, the better time I'm going to have with it. So yeah, I really like this one. And I used it for quite a few readings you guys saw in that video. So yeah, this is the Forager's Daughter Tarot, but let me show you guys now the last deck that I used during the month of January. Okay, finally, the last deck that I used in the month of January was this one. This is, well, this artwork might not surprise anyone, but this is the Magical Creatures Tarot. This is another this is another indie deck. And this is by the same creator of the Northern Animal Tarot. Okay, this is Canadian creator. So if you are trying to get this deck, you do have to contend with Canada shipping fees. If you're outside of Canada, you know, just be aware. But I really love this deck. I backed this one on Kickstarter when it was still doing the initial Kickstarter run. And somehow I ended up with copy number 5. So that's really freaking cool. I don't know how that happened. But anyways, let me show you the deck, okay? I think I like this deck just as much as I like the Northern Animal Tarot. I don't know yet if I have a clear favorite, but these are the backs. Really cute. This deck is also linen. Really nice bendy linen, by the way, so very easy for people to shuffle. And this deck, if the title didn't say it all, is based on magical creatures. So the Northern Animal Tarot was based on folkloric, anthropomorphic animals. This deck is literally based on magical creatures and things. So if you have more of a vibe for one than the other, I highly do encourage this one if you like magical creatures. I think this deck is so cute. The artwork is just very sweet. The extra cards, because this creator is known for having a lot of extra cards. The extra cards in this one are particularly, wow, I cannot talk today. They're really smart. And so I just find this such a cute deck. I did quite a few readings with this one during this month. I even read for my sister-in-law using this deck, and she got a lot of nice information from it. So this is a fun one. I think too, because it's like RWS clone-ish adjacent. This one is less so, I think, than Northern Animal Tarot was, but because it's still like closer to clone-ish side of things, it's a very clear reader. Very nice reader. And yeah, I just really, really enjoyed it. Like, look at this dryad. So cute. And a jackalope, because why not, right? It's super fun, super cute. And I really liked using it. I'm kind of sad. I'm kind of sad in some ways that I have to move on from it. I also felt that initially when I originally got the Northern Animal Tarot. Like, I just wanted to keep using that one, and it ended up being like the standout deck of 2023 for me. But I have a schedule, and so I won't be bringing this one out again, at least not currently. It's not planned to be, but really good deck, and I do recommend it. See, very easy to shuffle. So yeah, that was all the decks I used. I had my list. You guys are gonna see it for the rest of these months. Always 2 Oracle now for this plan for this year is 2 Oracle decks and about 5-ish tarot, and we'll just see how it goes. But if you were watching this long, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again next time. Bye.